The Demonology Warlock, just like the Beast Mastery Hunter, finally gained its own identity in MoP. Demons! I know, it took them so long to make the entire class about demons, but finally it happened. They got great burst AoE damage, and as you guys know, when it comes to AoE, burst is always king. Their single target DPS is also very good, but it all comes at the cost of insane difficulty. Not quite, it's not that bad, but it is pretty bad. You're gonna see what I mean in a second. One good thing about the Demonology Warlock that is still the same for every other Warlock is they are very tanky. They actually can take a lot of damage. That's gonna be first of all Soul Leech. Every time we do half of our rotation really, we're gonna get a shield. So we pretty much get a shield on us and our pet at all times. That's gonna be Soul Leech. The other two talents in this row are so much less value in comparison. Like Dark Regeneration is a 30% heal of your HP. In 2 minutes you're a freaking clotty, right? That's not a lot of HP. Soul Leech is constant shielding the entire fight. It is not even close. After that you got a utility row in here. You got an AoE stun, you got an AoE slow, and you got Mortal Coil. Mortal Coil is a fear for 3 seconds, but it will heal you. So yes, it is another self-heal, and just because of that reason we're gonna take Mortal Coil pretty much every single time for that extra more HP. Then we are gonna take, because we are Demonology, Soul Link. 3% of the damage we do is gonna turn into healing to us and our pet. So you can see here we're getting constant shields, and then from that same rotation we're also getting constant healing. The Warlock is traditionally a very annoying class to heal, but not anymore. Then for the movement tier, we're gonna be taking Burning Rush. It will make you immune to slows and it will give you some movement speed. The immunity to slows is mainly the thing we wanna have here. It is basically a better version of Unbound Will, so it is not a surprise. After that, we're gonna take the Grimoire of Service, because we are Demonology, and this will give us another demon. Demon damage, get it? And finally, we are gonna be taking, like every other Warlock, Archimonde's Darkness. Our Dark Soul spell are gonna have 2 charges. That means we can cast them twice. Why is that important? Because that's our main cooldown. Dark Soul Knowledge. We get a bunch of freaking mastery. For the Glyphs, we're gonna be taking the Glyph of Eternal Resolve. It will give us more duration on our dots. We gain 50% duration and we lose 20% of our damage, but that's actually good, because even though we will lose DPS from those dots, overall we are gonna be able to cast more fillers and that will translate into a lot more damage. Then we are gonna take the Glyph of Imp Swarm, a nice little cooldown we get. It is an entire new ability, a new cooldown, an amazing cooldown. We summon 4 more imps. Yes, it is Stampede. It is literally Stampede for Warlocks. I know, it took me a while to cover this class. Should have been like one of the first ones. And finally, we're gonna take Demonic Circle. It is our main mobility cooldown. Demonic Circle, you place it and then you recall to it. You know how it works. Just reduces the cooldown a little bit. There is nothing good there really that we can take otherwise. There is 2 minor glyphs actually that are pretty useful here. I know it's rare. The Hand of Gul'dan is gonna make it so we can target it to a certain location. And also, this is actually pretty freaking cool. We got the Glyph of Falling Meteor. If you use Demonic Leap while falling, you slam into the ground rapidly and you will not die from falling damage. So if you get knocked back by the boss or whatever, you can just boom straight down. Not only you're gonna survive the falling damage, but you are gonna get more, say it with me, more uptime. And uptime is damage. Your stat priority is very simple and standard. We are gonna take Intellect. Intellect is spell power and we love spell power. After that is gonna come the hit cap of 15%. And after that we're gonna stack Flat Haste. For what reason? For any reason. It doesn't matter. It is by far our best secondary stat. The soft cap when you get diminishing returns is 25%. Of course, you should use Reforged Light. There is a link in the Discord. Great add-on to help you with this. So you can target a certain haste cap. You wanna take as much haste as you can, and then you wanna target like whatever haste cap you are the closest to in Reforged Light, and then you're gonna reforge that little pinch of extra haste into something else. That's pretty much how it works. But yes, you're gonna be stacking haste all the way to like 25% easily. Haste is great. And after that is gonna come Mastery. And what is your Mastery? Very well that you ask. Master Demonologist. You get more damage when you're in caster form, so when you're not turned into a demon, and you actually get more damage by your demons. On top of that, when you pop Metamorphosis, you get more damage from Metamorphosis. So as you can see, it is flat percent damage to everything we do. Mastery Haste, that's exactly what you wanna stack. And after that, at the bottom is gonna be crit. We reforce crit into mastery every single time, or haste if we still can. A piece with crit is bad. Okay, brace for impact, because you have 2 rotations in single target. I am not even kidding. Basically, you got a new resource in Pandaria, and that's called Demonic Fury. I am gonna put a weak aura in the Discord that's gonna help you keep track of it a little easier. When you're in human form, well, whatever your form, or no demon form, you stack it. When you cast spells and you do damage, you stack Demonic Fury, and then you can turn into a demon with Metamorphosis, and you can spend it for a lot of boom boom. There is also the problem of your dots. Both Hand of Gul'dan and your Corruption, your 2 main dots, cannot be used in Metamorphosis. Now, Metamorphosis can extend your Corruption, but Hand of Gul'dan, you're out of luck. And this is why Demonology is one of the hardest specs in the game, and only the craziest nut jobs wanna play it. Don't get me wrong, it looks pretty fun, but yeah. Okay, so we are gonna be starting as a caster form. We are not gonna have Demonic Fury, and also they removed a lot of the pre-pulling shenanigans we could do to get a lot of Demonic Fury from the rip. As of the pre-pull changes, we are only gonna have 200 Demonic Fury now at the start of a pool, and we wanna have at least like 900. So this will work kinda like a Cataclysm Arcane Mage. We have 2 phases on a rotation, Pump and Dump. Pump is caster form, human form. We are gonna put Corruption on the target, number 1 priority. Second priority, Hand of Gul'dan, again, another dot. We can only do them in human form. Now, after that, we can do Soulfire. There is this arcane mechanic that is kinda complicated to think about, but now it's gotten a lot simpler actually, and that is the Molten Core, not the raid. Doing Shadow Flame damage, most of your abilities, and your Wild Imps also can proc this, they will give you charges of Molten Core, which are gonna make it so your Soulfire, your big Pyroblast kinda spell, will be half as long, and it will cost half as much mana. Of course, that is a lot of freaking boom boom. Now, what you're supposed to do, what you wanna do now after these other 2 spells, right? You wanna burn all your Molten Core procs, spamming Soulfire, until you can get about 900, 950 Demonic Fury. The weak aura is gonna help you keep track of that, okay? Once we get that much Demonic Fury, we can go straight into Metamorphosis for the big boom boom, but if you are like starting up the fight and you don't have a lot of procs, you can use Shadow Bolt as a filler for a while until you get that Demonic Fury. Once you do this Metamorphosis transition once, you should have plenty of Molten Core procs to like go back and forth. So once we have about 900, I think the weak aura actually tells you 950, go with that, it's fine. When you get that much Demonic Fury, we are gonna use Metamorphosis, we're demon form. First of all, we're gonna do Doom, that's the Curse of Impending Doom. It's not a curse anymore, of course, that's gonna be number 1 priority. After that, I am gonna put Corruption in here so you don't forget in the icon, but it's actually Touch of Chaos. You gotta refresh your Corruption, that's gonna be the next thing in the priority, right? Touch of Chaos, you can only do it in Metamorphosis, it will do damage, and it will refresh your Corruption, and if you're gonna refresh a dot, you might as well do a little bit of damage in that global, right? So that's the logic, but you only wanna do Touch of Chaos if you are renewing Corruption. Now, after that, as a filler, we can still stay in Metamorphosis and burn through some of our Soulfire, our Molten Core procs. The rule of thumb is that you never wanna leave Metamorphosis with less than 4 Molten Cores. That is more or less the amount you need to get the Demonic Fury back up, so you can go back to Metamorphosis as soon as you do your little combo in human form. Also keep in mind we have Decimation. This will work as an execute. When the boss is below 25% health, Soulfire will proc Molten Core, so that means we can spam Soulfire the entire time. And yes, the Demonology Warlock is one of the best executors in the game. This is definitely when you wanna pop your cooldowns if you still have them on the execute phase, and your execute phase is slightly longer than a lot of classes, right? 5% more. You get a lot of value off of this. And that also means, guys, that if you're close to hitting that 25% HP, you should make sure to burn all your Soulfire procs as quickly as you can, of course. Now, why is it so hard? It doesn't sound this complicated on paper, right? Well, the entire point of this is something that you cannot quite think through a weak aura, and like this Demonic Fury weak aura is like the best I could find, so that's why I'm putting it on the Discord. The goal to you is keeping all your dots, of course. We got Doom, we got Hand of Gul'dan and Corruption in human form, and Doom is in Metamorphosis. we got 3 dots to keep track of, we gotta keep them at all times, but we wanna have the highest uptime of Metamorphosis possible. And to achieve that, as contrary as it may sound, we wanna save Molten Core procs for when we go human form, so we can dump our Soulfires quickly, so we can go back to the Metamorphosis as quickly as possible. And you wanna do it over 900 Fury, so you can have good uptime on it too. That goes in part with the whole keeping a good uptime. And managing that is actually really hard. I wish I could give you a rule of thumb. I told you the 4 Soulfire procs. That is not a straight perfect rule. There is a lot of variance, because your Hand of Gul'dan will give you Molten Core procs. So you gotta actually calculate in your head statistically how many procs can I spend in demon form that I will still have enough procs in human form to go back to demon form. That's the game you're playing. You're trying to compensate 2 bars at the same time, and those bars you cannot even see. The 4 proc rule is not a straight rule. Maybe you get lucky, maybe you don't. Also, the more gear you get, because this is also something that it is not commonly explained in guides, the more mastery in particular, the more mastery you get, the more you value Molten Core procs in demon form. And that means that after you get your Mogushan tier set, you actually want to hoard your Soulfire procs, and you want to spend a little time longer in human form just so you can get more Molten Core procs in demon form. Molten Core as a mechanic is really annoying to deal with. Okay, that's all I'm trying to say. And it is not something that will ruin your spec. It is not something that will make your damage terrible if you do not fully take advantage of it. But if you want to do good damage as a Demonology Warlock, you have to use Molten Core in such a way that you get really good uptime on your demon form. Even if it means lengthening your human form a little so you can get a longer demon form. It is really complicated. I wish I could give you a better rule on that. I can't. Now, luckily, we do have 2 good cooldowns to help us with this entire thing, and that's gonna be Dark Soul Knowledge, which is a ton of mastery. Not actually mastery, but more 30% mastery scaling, so to speak. Just imagine it as a ton of mastery, okay? Shut up. And Imp Swarm, because you summon 4 wild imps, okay? Remember what the tooltip said on Molten Core? Every wild imp doing damage will give you an 8% chance to get Molten Core. You got 4 of them whacking the boss, right? So you actually get a lot of procs. It is a 2-minute cooldown, but you also have a passive as a Demonology Warlock that will every 20 seconds give you 1 wild imp, and that's gonna be your main source of Molten Core procs. Of course, 4 imps is a lot more than 1, so you wanna pop it early on at the start of the fight, and you wanna pop your Dark Soul Knowledge when you turn into Metamorphosis, because your mastery gives you a lot of Metamorphosis damage, of course, and you wanna be Metamorphosis to take advantage of that. Makes sense. Your AoE rotation is actually simpler, believe it or not. I guess that's a relative term in here. First of all, in human form, we are gonna do Hand of Gul'dan. It is an AoE, as you guys know, it is a dot with Shadow Flame damage, and we want that damage, and our goal after applying Hand of Gul'dan, and our goal now is to get to demon form as quickly as possible. We wanna still have that 950 demonic fury, so we can do Immolation Aura, which does a ton of damage. So Immolation Aura will be our number 1 priority, but you still need like 900 fury to go there. Carrion Swarm, and then you're gonna do Void Ray. Those are 2 more AoEs. Then Void Ray is gonna be your filler if you're in Metamorphosis spec, so you pop your Immolation Aura and you can then do Void Ray as a filler. But if you're in human form, Hellfire is a lot better, because Hellfire generates a ton of fury, and you wanna get back to demon quickly for more Immolation Auras. Yes, you can cast Void Ray and Immolation Aura at the same time. But not only you do stupid AoE damage, you do stupidly instant AoE damage. Like from the get-go, you are spamming good AoEs. And as you guys know, most stats do not live very long, so burst AoE damage pays off a lot. Now remember that you also got an amazing AoE cooldown, and that's your Infernal. You are gonna pop Infernal every time you're in an AoE situation and you need cooldowns. Otherwise, you got your Doomguard, that's gonna be your single target cooldown. And also, we took a special talent for this, which is another cooldown, the Grimoire of Service, okay? We can summon a Felguard, and they will actually instantly stun the targets, which is cool, I guess, but Felguards got an AoE, they got their Bladestone, right? So we got yet another cooldown for Boom Boom AoE. Of course, if we're single target, we're gonna summon an Imp instead. We are gonna be using an Imp the entire time, by the way. The Felguard is only for like AoE situations. It is rather unlikely that you're gonna be at a point where you gotta summon a Felguard the entire fight, but sometimes you do have to do that if you feel like you're gonna be cleaving two targets most of the fights or AoEing a lot. Felguard is actually great. Otherwise you go for Imp. But yes, like actually summoning a second Felguard for double Bladestorm or even just a single Bladestorm, it is so much damage, man. It is like your mini Arms Warrior at your disposal. You don't see Arms Warriors summoning mini Arms Warriors, do you? Your meta gem is gonna be the Burning Primal Diamond for 3% boom boom. Your red gem is gonna be the Reckless Vermilion Onyx for intellect and haste, your two best stats. Your yellow gem is gonna be the Quick Sun's Radiance for a stupid amount of haste. And your blue gem, like every other blue gem, is gonna have hit on it. You cannot help it, you're gonna have to reforge around it if you got way too much hit. It doesn't matter, it is still the best. Haste and hit from the Lightning Wild Jade. Your food is gonna be the Mogu Fist 2 for 300 intellect. Your flask is gonna be the Flask of the Worm Sun for 1000 intellect. Your potion is gonna be the Potion of the Jade Serpent for 4000 intellect. And yes, you can pre-pop the MoP. I get a lot of people asking me in the comments to this day that you cannot do it anymore. You still can. The pre-pull resources doesn't affect pre-potting. Pre-potting is still a thing. Pop it right before a fight and then you pop it when you pop your cooldowns. Overall, the Demonology Warlock is absolutely freaking insane. I like it, okay? I'm probably never gonna play it. I am not that insane, but I can totally see why people are super into it. It is a really fascinating spec. And let me tell you, the difference between a mediocre Demonology Warlock and an autistic Demonology Warlock is gonna be astronomical. I expect the Demonology Warlock to top several fights that involve heavy AoE, even though they can still compete pretty decently on single target. Not only their AoE is bursty, like Beast Mastery or Arms Warrior, but it is also consistent. They got full blast AoE the entire time, and that's something that the Arms Warrior and the Beast Mastery Hunter cannot do, even though their consistent AoE damage is okay, it's pretty good. The Demonology Warlock is in a position where it is a great burst AoE damage, and it is great consistent AoE damage at the same time, and there will be several fights where that is exactly what you need, and you are gonna see them at the top of the rankings. Also, one cool thing that all the other Warlocks do not have, your damage is awfully consistent, okay? Yes, you gotta rely on Molten Core procs, and that's not consistent, quote unquote, but that is the only real proc you get, and you can stack it, so like the RNG is very minimized as a Demonology Warlock. And I know a lot of specs feel like a rolling the dice right now, and the Demonology Warlock is not one of them. It does very consistent damage, both AoE and single target, and I know some people are gonna appreciate that a lot. We are gonna do a guide for every single spec. Check out the Discord for weak auras and macros for every single class, and subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.